Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. I am here with Rukia Lumumba. You are a member of Mississippi Rapid Response, and I wanted to interview you. You're down in Jackson. Surprisingly, not surprisingly, the mainstream media has pretty much moved on from this story. You have the governor coming out saying that the water is now safe. I find that very dubious and hard to believe. So I wanted to follow up with folks on the ground there. Can you tell me how are things going and what do people need to know, fact versus fiction, in terms of what the governor said?
Well, I think number one, people need to know that we are still cautioning people to drink the water, not to drink the water. People should not drink the water. My name is Rukia Lumumba. I grew up in Jackson. I have spent most of my life here, and I have never drank the water in Jackson. We have had infrastructure issues since I was a child. And so we want to be careful about just assuming that the water quality is where it needs to be when we know that the pipes from which water flows through, even if water coming through the filtration system at the plant has improved, we know that the pipes for which the water then has to go through to reach our homes are still in need of significant replacement. We still have lead pipes. We still have a number of things. And so we're cautioning people not to drink the water. The other thing that people should know is that the water infrastructure responsibility is still currently a resource that is under the authority of the city. Right now, the governor is pushing out a message that Jackson will not have the right over its water. And that they don't know when they will give us the right over our water again. But I want to be very clear. It has been the residents of Jackson. It has been the municipal government of Jackson year after year that has not only ensured that we could at least drink the water at certain times, that we have been able to repair and do some repairs to the plant with very little resources and little to no resources coming from the state. And so the only people that have been responsible about this water issue have been the residents of Jackson, have been the municipal leadership of Jackson. It sure hasn't been the state. And so we want to be very clear that we're not going to give up our right to this resource simply because now the state wants to come in and offer some type of help.
I want to ask you because the governor, for people that don't know, he's repeatedly vetoed bills that would provide Jackson with money for infrastructure, hospitals, parks. I mean, you name it. And at a press conference, when the media was covering this, they're not really anymore. He said privatization was on the table for
That's right.
Jackson's water. That's kind of what happened in Flint and many other places. Can you kind of talk about? Does that seem like a threat from him? And would that be something that what would be your preferred choice for the state to actually give you the funding that you need for infrastructure upgrades? I assume not privatizing.
Absolutely, you're correct. We want the money that we deserve as residents of this state, as a capital city, as a place where the governor's mansion, where state legislatures, and a number of other policymakers reside, their offices are located in. It is their responsibility to fix this problem and to provide us with the funds to do so. We have, as residents of Jackson, have had this burden for way too long. We have held this burden. And no, we're not interested in privatization. We know what privatization means. We know what it means to have privatized gas. We know what it means to have privatized electricity. We know what it means to have privatized cable, where we have to pay high bills. And the minute you don't pay your bill over in 2 weeks, then all of a sudden, your service is disconnected. We are a place that recognizes that the best situation for our residents is to have control over and for it to be public. Public ensures that all of our residents have the ability to receive the quality of water and the quality of life that we deserve and need. And so, no, we're not looking at privatization. We're not looking at privatization. That is not the best thing for us. No one here would say that it's the best thing for us. When you go door to door, when you talk to residents, no one here in this community is talking about privatization. We understand how that harms us. We are a place where over 24% of our population is living within poverty. Privatization is not going to protect our people living with vulnerabilities, including poverty, and those that are living without the ability to pay regular high water bills and things of that nature.
And what's really alarming to me, Louis DeAngelis, who was down there for Status Coup, he was showing that there are gaping holes in the city streets that have been there for years, where cars have to drive around them. Those holes are, in many cases, right above the water mains. So it's not just an issue with the plant. I mean, there's problems all over the city. We could get into why. Obviously, there's been years of disinvestment, white flight, the state withholding funds. But what else needs to be done just outside of things, improvements at the water plant, obviously the levees near the Pearl River? What has to be done in infrastructure just around the city to protect the water?
Well, the issue with our water infrastructure is over $1 billion issue. It's several billions of dollars. It includes the pipes, which are under the ground, right? And so those pipes are within what we call Yazoo clay or red clay here in Mississippi. Our ground is not made of the same soil that many northern cities have. We have soil that shifts. People's houses shift. All of that happens, right? And so do our pipes, so do our piping. So that causes a lot of sewer issues. It also causes erosion of our roads. So the minute that a pothole is fixed, only a few years later is it erupted back into that gaping hole that you're seeing when pipes are not properly maintained and or replaced, and when we're not engaging in that consistent maintenance. That maintenance can only happen when there's money. That maintenance can happen when there's funds. So all across the city, we've seen many roads repaired, right? Through partnership with Hinds County as well as Jackson Municipal. Like, we've seen roads repaired, but there's still so many more, right? And you can't expect a county and a city to be responsible for all of the decades upon decades of disrepair, of lack of maintenance, because they're only been given a few resources to fix a problem that actually requires so much more. Right? You can't give us $3 million when we're already telling you that the problem would, at the base minimum, cost $26 million, and you give us three, and you expect us to be able to fix, the problem. That's just absurd. It's ludicrous. And so we need to fix the pipes. Once we fix the pipes, we can fix the roads and hope that the roads won't erode again. And not only fix the pipes, we need new pipes, right? You've seen cities across the nation began to install brand new pipes because the pipes that they have lead or other materials that can cause contaminants in the water. We need to repair all of that. We also need to repair the plant itself. The plant is in such disrepair that it has to be completely restored. In addition to that, we have sewage issues. Yes, the pipes are part of that sewage issues, but we need equipment. We need the proper equipment to be able to manage the sewage issues as they arise. I think about just last year when the city only had one proper tank that would go to the sewage issues and pump. And only one pump that could pump out the sewage out of people's homes. And they had to wait months before they were able to afford a new truck, right? This is because a state has not invested resources in the wellness of its people. Right, and are just dependent upon. The other thing I'll just mention, because I want people that are listening, and I thank everyone who's listening, to be clear. Residents here have been extremely responsible. In 2014, we even agreed to tax ourselves an additional 1%. So that money, our dollars, additional dollars, were going to our water infrastructure issues. So it's not that we haven't been doing our fair share. It's that we haven't been given any support by the state. The state hasn't been doing its share at all.
And meanwhile, it's coming out. The former governor, maybe there's ties to this governor, were raiding welfare funds to give money to a former NFL quarterback, Brett Favre, for a volleyball stadium for his daughter. I mean, it is just absolutely the height of hypocrisy and corruption that this governor has kind of painted the city of Jackson. Well, pay your water bills. The city leadership isn't doing a good job. Well, the Republicans seem to, at least it seems, allegedly raided money that was meant for poor people for a millionaire quarterback.
That's right. Literally took money out of babies' mouths. Food out of babies' mouths. I mean, during the height of COVID. So as people across the nation were getting additional resources to care for themselves during a COVID shutdown when they couldn't work and their children couldn't go to school, we saw cuts. we saw cuts in the food stamp allowance that people were getting across the city. I mean, like massive cuts. Families of 10, families of 11, families of 6, families of 8, food stamps cut drastically, making it extremely hard for them to actually care for the well-being of their families, of their children. Elders, stamps being cut. Already we have a situation where people who are formerly incarcerated get very little to no support from the state, including food stamps. I have one situation where a family member with 2 children, a woman who's formerly incarcerated with 2 children, would get $19 a month for food stamps allocation. And you're even cutting that, so, I'm so glad you brought that up, because it is such a hypocrisy. But it's also, like a false narrative. The state is acting like it has been a savior. It has been very far from a savior of Jackson. It has been a willfully neglectful participant in the divestment of Jackson. And so, that needs to be made clear.
What does it say to you, not to be your therapist, but how does it make you feel? I mean, the media, they were there for, I don't know, a week. Maybe there's still some people there, but I barely see this on the national news anymore. It's almost like, hey, we'll just take the governor's word for it. We checked the box and went down there. From what I could tell, it's still a major problem, but the media is not really covering it anymore.
Yeah, well, we expected that, right? Last year, we've been dealing with this for decades. And last year, we had over 130 pipes burst across the city. We were without water for 6 weeks. Not without a little bit of water, without water for 6 weeks. And the national media focused on Texas, while we were suffering right over here in Jackson at the same time. So one thing we're used to is being forgotten. We're used to having to take care of ourselves, having to save ourselves. And that's what our coalition has been doing from day one, is saving ourselves and figuring out what and how we can live a better quality of life for our residents. And so we appreciate media like you that continues to put your eye on it. And we continue to push for other media outlets to do that where we can find them. But we're also in the business of telling our own story. And we're more concerned about what's happening locally and how people locally are feeling, because we've been survivors here. We've been survivors here since we've been here, right? And so we're going to continue to survive.
And for people watching, how can they support? Are you still looking for water? Are you looking for other, resources?
Absolutely. We're asking for folks, one, water is still going to be a need. We can definitely, give us a couple of weeks, send us some more, right? We need it. But we're also looking for testing kits. We're asking people to donate testing kits. We're also looking for filters, water filtration systems. We're asking for that. And then people are still in need of body wipes to wipe their bodies. The water, not everybody's water is running clean. Not everybody has water. Just yesterday, we had to deliver to an apartment complex, a whole apartment complex that was completely out of water. So this narrative that everything is okay is just not true. And so we still need people to be present and give wipes. We need distilled water. A lot of the shelves are empty right now, and babies and people living with vulnerabilities, depending on their medical condition, needs particular type of water, like distilled water for formula or for other things they need in terms of their medical care. And we need hand sanitizer, and things like this. We're still in a state of COVID. And so we need to maintain our health and safety in that way too. And if folks want to donate, we're asking folks to go to jacksonpeoplesassembly.org. It gives you all the information of how you can donate, how you can volunteer, how you can take action. And that's JXN Peoples with an S, assembly.org.
JXNpeoplesassembly.org.
Yes.
Great. We'll put it under the video too. Thank you so much, Rukia, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.